Diana, scorn of the moon. Bearing her crescent moonblade, Diana fights as the warrior of the Lunari, a faith all but quashed in the lands around Mount Targon. Clad in shimmering armor the color of winter snow at night, she is a living embodiment of the silver moon's power. Imbued with the essence of an aspect from beyond Targon's towering summit, Diana is no longer wholly human, and struggles to divine her power and purpose in this world. Diana was born as her mother and father sheltered from a storm on the unforgiving slopes of Mount Targon. They had traveled from a distant land, drawn by dreams of a mountain they had never seen, and the promise of revelation. Exhaustion and blinding storm winds overwhelmed them on the eastern slopes of the mountain, and there, beneath cold, pitiless moonlight, Diana came into the world as her mother breathed her last. Hunters from the nearby Solari temple found her the next day as the storm abated, and the sun reached its zenith. Wrapped in bearskin and cradled in the arms of her dead father, they brought her to the temple, where the foundling child was presented to the sun and named Diana. The girl with the sable hair was raised as one of the Solari, a faith that dominated the lands around Mount Targon. Diana became an initiate, and was raised to venerate the sun in all its aspects. She learned the legends of the sun and trained every day with the Rahorak, the warrior Templars of the Solari. The Solari elders taught that all life came from the sun, and that the light of the moon was false, offering no nourishment and crafting shadows in which only creatures of darkness found succor. Yet Diana found moonlight entrancing and beautiful in a way that the harsh sun glaring down the mountain could never match. Every night the young girl would wake from dreams of climbing the mountain to sneak from the initiate's dormitories to pick night-blooming flowers and watch freshwater springs turn silver in the moonlight. As the years went by, Diana found herself ever at odds with the elders and their teachings. She couldn't help but question all she was told, always suspecting there was more that went unsaid in every teaching, as though what she was being taught was willfully incomplete. As she grew, Diana's sense of isolation only became stronger, as childhood friends distanced themselves from the mordant, questioning girl who never quite fit in. At night, watching the silver moon rise over the impossibly distant summit, she felt more and more like an outcast. The urge to climb the mountain's flanks was like an itch that could never be scratched, but everything she had been taught since birth told her the mountain would claim more than just her life should she ever try. Only the most worthy and heroic dared make such an ascent. With every passing day, Diana felt more alone, and more certain that some vital aspect of her life remained unfulfilled. Her first clue as to what that might be came when she was sweeping the temple library as punishment for arguing with one of the elders. A glint of light behind a sagging bookcase drew Diana's eyes, and upon investigation, she discovered the partially burned pages of an ancient manuscript. Diana took the pages and read them beneath the full moon that very night, and what she read unlocked a door into her soul. Diana learned of an all but extinct group known as the Lunari, whose faith saw the moon as a source of life and balance. From what Diana could glean from the fragmentary texts, the Lunari spoke of the eternal cycle, night and day, sun and moon, as essential for universal harmony. This was a revelation to the girl with the sable hair, and as she looked beyond the moonlit temple walls, she saw an elderly woman wrapped in a bearskin cloak, trudging up the far path that eventually led to the mountain's summit. The woman's steps were faltering, and she leaned on a carved staff of willow to remain upright. She saw Diana and called for help, saying that she had to reach the top of the mountain before morning, an ambition Diana knew was utterly impossible. Diana's desire to help the woman and climb the mountain warred with everything the Solari taught. The mountain was for the worthy, and Diana had never felt worthy of anything. Again, the woman asked for help, and this time, Diana did not hesitate. She scrambled over the walls and took the woman's arm, leading her up the mountain. Amazed someone so aged had even made it this far. They climbed for hours, above the clouds and into the chill air where the moon and stars glittered like diamonds. Despite her age, the woman kept climbing, urging Diana onwards when she stumbled or when the air grew thin and cold. As the night wore on, Diana lost track of time as the stars wheeled overhead and all but the mountain faded from view. Together, Diana and the woman climbed ever upwards. Each time her steps faltered, she drew strength from the pale glow of the moon. Eventually, Diana fell to her knees, exhausted and weary beyond imagining. Her entire body strained to the limits of exhaustion. When Diana looked up, it was to see that somehow they had reached the mountaintop, a feat that should not have been possible in a single night. The summit was wreathed in cascades of spectral illumination, veils of brilliant light, spirals of vivid color, and the glimmering ghosts of a vast city of silver and gold hovering in the air. She searched for her companion, but the woman was nowhere to be seen. Only the bearskin cloak mantling Diana's shoulders suggested she had existed at all. Looking into the light, Diana saw the promise of the emptiness within her being filled, of acceptance and a chance to be part of something greater than she could ever imagine. This was what Diana had sought all her life without truly knowing it, and fresh vitality flowed through her limbs as she rose to her feet. She took a hesitant step toward the incredible vista, her resolve growing stronger with every breath. The light surged and Diana screamed as it poured into her, a union with something vast and inhuman, impossibly ancient and powerful. The sensation was painful, but also joyous. A moment or an eternity that was both revelatory and hallucinatory. When the light faded, the sense of loss was an ache like nothing she had known before. Diana stumbled down the mountain in a fog state, oblivious to her surroundings, until she found herself before a cleft in the mountainside, a cave mouth that would have been invisible but for the moonlit shadows. Cold and needing shelter for the night, Diana sought refuge within the cave. Inside, the narrow cleft widened into a crumbling ruin of what might once have been a temple or a vast audience chamber. Its crumbling walls were painted in faded frescoes, depicting warriors of silver and gold fighting back to back against an unending host of grotesque monsters, as the sky rained comets of searing light. At the center of the chamber stood a crescent sword and a suit of armor unlike any other. A mailed shirt of spun silver rings and wondrously crafted warplate of polished steel. Reflected in the gleam of the armor, Diana saw her once sable hair was now purest white, and a rune shone on her forehead with incandescent light. She had recognized the symbol so exquisitely etched into the plates of the armor, the same symbol depicted in the pages of the burned manuscript she had found in the library. This was Diana's moment of truth. She could turn away from this destiny, or choose to embrace it. Diana reached out, and as her fingers touched the cold steel of the armor, her mind exploded with images of lives she had never lived, memories she had never experienced, and sensations she had never known. Scraps of ancient history raged like a blizzard in her mind, secret knowledge she had dimly grasped, and innumerable features scattered like wind-blown dust. When the visions faded, Diana saw she was now fully clad in the silver warplate, armor that fitted her as though wrought especially for her. Her mind was still afire with newly acquired knowledge, but much of it remained frustratingly out of reach, like a picture half in shadow, half in light. She was still Diana, but she was also something more, something eternal. Feeling vindicated with this new knowledge, Diana left the mountain cave and made her way unerringly toward the Solari temple, knowing she had to tell the elders what she had learned. She was met at the temple gates by Leona, the master of the Rahorak and the Solari's greatest warrior. Diana was brought before the temple elders, who listened with mounting horror as she told of what she had learned of the Lunari. When she had finished her tale, the elders immediately denounced her as a heretic, a blasphemer, and a peddler of false gods. For such a heinous crime, only one punishment could suffice: death. Diana was appalled. How could the elders reject what was so patently true? How could they turn their back on revelations brought from the very summit of the holy mountain? Her fury built at their willful blindness, and blazing orbs of silver fire spun in the air around her. With a scream of rage-fueled frustration, Diana's sword swept out, and where it struck, silver fire burned with killing light. Again and again, Diana lashed out, and when her fury ebbed, she saw the carnage she had unleashed. The elders were dead, and Leona lay on her back, her armor smoking as though fresh from the forge. Appalled at what she had done, Diana fled the site of the massacre, escaping into the wilds of Mount Targon as the Solari reeled from the savagery of her attack. Hunted by the warriors of the Rahorak, Diana now seeks to piece together the fragmentary memories of the Lunari hidden within her mind. Driven by half-remembered truths and glimpses of ancient knowledge, Diana has only one truth to cling to: that the Lunari and the Solari need not be foes, that there is a greater destiny for her than that of a simple warrior. What her destiny might be is unknown, but Diana will find it, whatever the cost.